Hey everyone, this is Technicolor Mike B. Welcome to Greasepaint 101. As we approach Halloween, that is the time of the year that people are most likely to try doing a fancy makeup design for the very first time. They might buy some makeup from the Halloween store or Amazon or some other place and try to use it. Some people will go for water-based makeup. A lot of people online seem to think that water-based is easier, especially for the novice doing makeup for the first time, at least doing fancy faces for the very first time. My preference is always to use grease paint. Grease paint makeup is it has been around for a long time. It is something that has been used in theatrical makeup, in circus performers for 100 years. It is an oil-based makeup and it has to be set in order for the makeup to dry. Before the video I applied the white. The white has been set with powder and it is dry. It's not going to smear, it's not going to go anywhere. It is going to stay put. But I figured I would do the white first so I can sort of show the difference of makeup that has been set and makeup that has not yet been set. And we're going to do a cat's theme makeup design today. I don't know if we'll have time to finish the entire makeup since our goal today is more on Grease Paint 101. So these are my grease paints. Right now just about all of my grease paint makeup is from Mehron. It is their Mehron Foundation Grease Paint series. I like Mehron. They have a variety of colors. You can see red, blue, yellow, black. I have green, purple, orange, brown, gold, and silver. There's a few other colors. They make a dozen different colors. Compared to water-based makeups, water-based, there's probably 50 different colors. There's all the shades of blues and pinks and reds and greens and oranges, the lights and darks, the blue-greens, the navy blue, the royal blue, the baby blue, the sky blue. Yeah, they have 50, 70, 80 different shades of colors when it comes to water-based makeup, but when it comes to grease paint, there's like a dozen shades of FX colors. There's probably another dozen shades of skin tones from light to dark to yellow to brown. But when it comes to the primary colors, you have your rainbow of colors: red, yellow, orange, blue, green, purple, black and white. They do have a pink and I think like a monster gray and maybe an ogre green. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to choose from. So usually when I want to do makeup, I have to mix the colors. If I want a light blue, I'll start with the blue and I will add clown whites. That is my go-to white. And then I'll have a light blue. I can mix yellow and blue and get a green tone instead of necessarily using the green. My next tool that I like using is my fingers. At least when I'm doing my own face, fingers are the easiest for me. If I'm doing someone else, if it's a haunted house or doing theatrical makeup for a school play, I'll use the latex makeup wedges just because I don't want to get my fingers on someone. When I did a haunted house in the past and I was working with teenagers or college students, I let them do their base color. So I just said, we went over the first time in one of our practice sessions of how to apply a base color, and then I did the detail work. For the detail work, I use a variety of brushes. These are all, I think, mainly makeup brushes. One or two of my collection might be for paint. but they're all a relatively small head brush, and they're a flat brush, so I can get a thin line or a thicker line depending on which direction I go. The makeup, I said, has to be set, so this is my baby powder. I have a nice fluffy puff, and I have a brush. This is a brush for babies that you can brush their hair. One of the other brushes I will sometimes use, this is a brush from the equestrian shop. It's for the horse to brush their face or to keep their leather clean. So this is it's a soft brush. It's a little bit denser, has more bristles than the baby brush, but it's good for removing the excess powder from the design. So those are the key tools that I like to use. So let's get started working with the makeup, and we'll go over a little of how I work with it. So I don't like to just stick my finger into the makeup container. I'll use a brush, and I'll use the back of the brush to just pull off a glob of makeup, and I'll take that makeup and put it on the back of my hand. The makeup is oil based. It is creamy consistency. Depending on how old the makeup is, sometimes if you buy it from like the Halloween store, you're really buying last season's makeup that didn't sell, that sat in a warehouse for years, so it might be dried out slightly. But putting on the back of my hand, it does heat it up a bit. It allows the makeup to soften a bit. And then I said if I'm going to mix colors, I'll just clean off the end of the brush, and I'll go into the whatever color I want. In this case, it's the white, so we're going to make a gray, and I'll scoop off a bit of the makeup. And then I'll just put it on the back of my hand again and work the two colors into each other, mixing them together, creating a lighter color, and I could add more black, more white, depending on if I want a lighter color or a darker color. And then just clean off the brush so that it doesn't have a glob of makeup on it. Now I can apply this to my face. Now, as I showed before, the white, when I rub my hand against on it, it stayed place. If I rub it off, I can remove the makeup using a Q-tip or my finger. So that's the one thing when you're working with it before it has been set. If you get makeup somewhere you don't want makeup, you can just work it off. So it goes on fairly easily. There is, you can put too much or too little. It usually, it's hard. You can tell if you got too little because you'll see through it, and if it's too much, you'll see clumps. But usually it's like once you get the makeup, if you start patting it with a finger, that will pick up any of the areas that are too much, and spread it to some of the other areas to give you a smoother color. And at this point, since the white is set, any makeup I do next to it is going to cover over the white. If the white had not been set, the two colors would blend in and it would turn into a lighter gray. So depending on what you want, sometimes it's good to keep both colors wet so you can work them into each other and create a smoother edge. It goes on fairly easily, fairly quickly, especially when your skin is clean and dry to begin with. Now, depending on what my purpose is for the makeup, I would cover my neck, I cover my ears, I cover whatever's going to not be exposed by costume. But for the purpose of this demonstration, we can leave off covering everything. So I've now done the basic gray. It's a very monochromatic color. I usually like to go in with again a little bit more white, so I just take a little bit out and just be able to add a little variation to the color instead of just having a single gray. I could just work the white into it, and it'll just blend on the fly. That's the one nice thing, is that before the makeup is set, the colors will blend a lot easier. Now, when I look on the internet and some of the cosplay groups, people say they use grease paint. They didn't like it because it just got everywhere. It just never dried. So is that if at this point I just said I was done. This is the makeup how I want it to look, and walked away. Now this makeup is never going to dry. 30 minutes later, an hour later, it will still be wet makeup. The only way to dry it or get it to dry is to set it with a powder. You have to set grease paint makeup, but at this point I'm not quite ready to do it. So this is going to be a cat design, and it's going to start to be a tiger-ish design with some black stripes and markings. So if I wanted to do the black, I could add the black, and it would work just like the white, where it just sort of blends in. If I want the black to be a little bit more of a bold design color, I can use the Q-tip, and this is called cutting out the makeup. So this is removing some of the makeup so that I'm able to apply the black to just my skin, and then it's going to just be the pure black. Otherwise it's going to be blending into the gray color. The Q-tips only hold up for so long before they have too much makeup on it. So you probably need several. There's a whole art to designing a good-looking face. I would suggest if you're going to do a Halloween design and you're going to do makeup for yourself, to practice it a few times before Halloween, so that it's not the day of your big Halloween party and that's the first time you've ever attempted to do the makeup. You'll find it'll probably take longer than you anticipated, and it won't be nearly as easy if it's your first time. But if you practice it 2 or 3 times before Halloween, when it comes time to get ready for your party, it will be a little bit easier. So now I can take a little bit of the black and put it on a brush, and I can color in the areas. I use the Q-tip to remove some of the color. And if I do the makeup in a spot that I haven't removed the color, it's not going to be quite as bold and black, because it's going to sort of blend into the gray. I find it's often easier to do brush work if the makeup has been set already. That way you're painting a new spot on the makeup instead of trying to follow the edges. So it's like using the brush. If I go the narrow direction, I don't know if you can see what, I can get a thin line, but if I do the fat direction, I get a thicker line. So that's how I'm able to get to come to a point, just having the brush the narrow way for the points. And the thicker way to fill the bigger areas. Now, as I said at the beginning, the white was already set. Painting over the white is a little bit different than painting over the gray that hasn't been set. Sometimes there's a little residue of the powder still in on the areas that already been set, and so it makes it a little bit harder. The makeup doesn't blend, flow quite as smoothly. But with practice, you can So that's working with grease paint. It's not that hard with a little practice. Yes, I've had a lot of practice. I've been doing this for probably 10 years working with grease paint. Some of my early faces didn't look all that great. Well, that's what practice is for. So I don't know how many holiday or Halloween parties are going to take place this year, but If you have the opportunity to get dressed, don't be afraid of doing some grease paint makeup. Just give yourself some time before Halloween to practice. So that's what it's like to work with grease paint. When I am at this point, I'll usually clean off my hand, just scrape any of the makeup off that's left behind. Then use a paper towel to just finish cleaning the makeup off my hand. Now with grease paint, the one thing that you have to be aware of is right now it hasn't been set, so it is wet, so if I touch it, it will move. Every time, if I hadn't set the white beforehand, every time I blink my eyes, the makeup on the eyelid would form creases. It could form creases on my forehead every time I scrunch my head. It can form creases around your mouth every time you talk. So sometimes you just have to go in at the end and just sort of use your finger to clean off some of the edges. And then when you're ready, you can set the makeup with your powder. I'll use the softer powder puff. Just load it with a little powder and close my eyes, hold my breath, and just sort of tap it on. You have to make sure you get powder everywhere. Work it in. and the powder, the makeup is set. It's not going anywhere. It's dry. So I don't have to like wait 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes for the powder to do its job. Once you've powdered it, you're ready to brush it off. Normally I would do this in a bathroom or tiled area so that I'm not getting powder everywhere. So I'll not finish brushing it off, but that's the process. You just brush all the excess powder off. Sometimes I'll use a hair dryer to further blow some of the powder off, and that will leave the makeup clear. It's like right now, it's like if I took pictures, the powder would attract the, like if I use a flash, it would reflect back. So you want to get rid of the excess powder. You don't need it. If I was going to go to a long party or have a day-long cosplay, I'll bring extra powder with me, and every few hours I might go and just add a little more powder. I have oily skin, so my nose will get oily, my cheeks will get a little oily. So the little extra powder will reset the makeup, and it shouldn't go anywhere. Yes, if I was had makeup on my shirt or my neck, I would get a little bit of makeup on the shirt at some point just from the rubbing of it, but that if you set the makeup properly, you won't get too much, but it will happen. Same thing if you have a wig or whatever, you might get some makeup on the wig over a few hours of the wig rubbing against the areas of your face that have makeup. But you can just wash that off when you're done. So this is Technicolor Mike B with Greasepaint 101. I hope you learned a little and aren't so afraid of working with grease paint. Thanks for watching.